Today's tutorial would be on how I made this lovely Ankara jacket with fringe at the hem. It is a jacket that I made with just 2 yards of Ankara. Bear in mind that I am a size 6, so for any size above me you'll be needing at least 2.5 yards for this project, and I finished it in about 2 hours. So let's jump into this tutorial. These are the materials that I use. This is the Ankara fabric I made use of. I love the pattern of this Ankara. It has this batik-like pattern, if I'm correct, but the pattern is very unique on its own. I also love the colors too. Then I've got the lining here because I used a lining for the body of the jacket. I've got my pattern paper because, as always, I like to work with patterns. I also have my fringe which I would be attaching at the hem of this jacket. This fringe here is 2 yards. I did not exhaust it, but as a rule of guide, you can use your hip measurements to determine how much of fringe you are going to be needing. I also have my other pattern drafting tools here. To kickstart the process, I've got my pattern paper. I have the front part on this side of my pattern, and I'll be drafting the back on this other side of my pattern. This line right here is my chest line, which I would label as my CL, which is chest line. I've got my bust line there, BL, and the line that cuts across both the front and the back is the waistline. Also, I have the hip line here, and I have my full length line, or the M line, right there. The length of my jacket is 32 inches. In addition to the fringe, is going to be 37 inches because the fringe is 5 inches in length, so I deducted that from the total length, which left me with 32 inches for the main jacket. The neck width I'm using is 2.5 inches. Whenever I'm working with a jacket, I always love to use 2.5 inches for my neck width, while for the neck depth I will be opting for 3 inches for the front, and I will be using a round neckline for this jacket. Thereafter, I will proceed to placing all of my other measurements. The first I would place is my bust measurement, a quarter of my bust measurement plus ½ inch ease allowance because this is a jacket. On the waistline, I would place a quarter of my waist measurement plus 1 inch dart allowance and ½ inch ease allowance too on the waistline. On the hip line, I would do likewise a quarter of my hip measurement plus ½ inch is allowance, which is the exact measurement I have right there on the hip line. Going to the full length line, all I need to do is to deduct ½ inch from what I have there, and that will be all. I'll connect all of these points together. After that was done, the next thing I would do is to draw in my armhole. Once I was done with that, I also went ahead to mark my darts. After that, I went ahead to divide my shoulder slant into 2, and this is because I'm going to be having 2 pieces of the front. Dividing my shoulder slant into 2, I will connect the midpoint to my darts. Also, I will connect the bottom dart to the hem line. This would enable me split the pattern into 2. On this side of the pattern, I have the center front, and on this side, I have the side front. Now, this is all for the front. It is now time to work on the back pattern. For the back pattern, I will be using the same neck width I used for the front, which is 2.5 inches. For the neck depth, I will be going for ½ inch. Simply because this is a jacket and you don't want your neckline to be too low. Next thing I will do is to mark a quarter of my bust measurements plus half an inch is allowance, just like I did for the front. Before marking my waist measurement, I'll come in by 0.75 inch and connect that measurement to my bust line and also to my hip line. This would help eliminate any bulge that may want to appear at the back of this jacket. Once I was through with that, I can properly place my waist measurement. So I'll be placing a quarter of my waist measurement plus 1 inch dart allowance and half an inch ease allowance too. Next thing, on my hip line, I will be placing a quarter of my hip measurement plus half an inch ease allowance, just like I did for the front. And on the full length line, I'll be coming inward by half an inch. Next thing is to connect all of these points together. Afterwards, I went ahead to draw in the armhole for the back, and I also marked out the dart for the back too. Now I am marking out my dart on my pattern because I'm going to be slashing the back pattern into two, just the way I will be slashing the front pattern into two. These are the patterns I'm going to be using. I've got the center front right here. I also have the side front. I have the side back and the center back. Now you have to be very careful when cutting because the side front and the side back looks very similar. So you would need to mark your fabric appropriately. I will be cutting these on both my lining and also my main fabric, and here is what they look like. This is the center front. This right here is the side front. I added all the necessary seam allowances that I needed to add. I've also got my back pattern too. This is the back. This right here is the center back. You can see my center back. I'm placing my pattern so that you can match them appropriately together, and I also have my side back too. I also cut out lining as I stated earlier. You can see I marked F at the side front so that I can know that this is for the front and I don't get it mixed up with that of the back. And for that of the back, I just put an X on it. This would enable me know that this right here is for the back. It is now time to join all of these beautiful pieces together. I would be starting with the front, and all I have to do is to join the center front and the side front together by the seam allowance which I added, which was 0.5 inch. In order to make this easier, I would pin them together. I would also join my back pieces together. Also for the back, I will be joining all 4 pieces together, and I will repeat likewise for the lining too. So guys, this is me on the sewing machine trying to join all of the beautiful fabric pieces together, and this process here is just you using a straight stitch to join them together. I am done joining all the pieces together. This right here is the back. Another thing I have done is to iron my seam lines open. One thing I like to do while sewing is to iron as I sew. I have realized that this makes my work really neat when I am done. Now this is my main fabric which I have stitched together and also ironed. The next step would be to enclose each one of them with the lining. Like, you know, there are so many finishing techniques, and this is just one of them I will be doing. So I would place the right side of the lining against the right side of the main fabric. I am starting with the back, and you realize that my lining is half an inch longer than the main fabric. That is because I want to have a turnover of my fabric on the inside, and I don't want my lining to be popping out from the hem of my dress. So what I would do is I would place them together and then sew it along the hem first of all. Then I'll show us what to do next. After joining the hem together, as you can see, what I'll do is lift the lining to make sure that it matches up to the neckline and the shoulder line of the main dress. This would in turn push the excess fabric downward, and it would result in the overlap that I wanted. So that is the trick to this style of finishing. I'll pin this together. I would then go ahead and stitch this down along the sides by a quarter of an inch along this side and a quarter of an inch along the other side of the dress. I will repeat likewise for the two front pieces of this jacket. Also, I would be turning the neckline of this jacket. You're just turning the neckline alone, and here is what it looks like. So I stitched the neckline, the sides, and also the hem. I will turn it inside out so that we can have a look of what this looks like. This is what it looks like after turning it into the right side. This is exactly what I wanted, having a turnover of the fabric on the inside so that the lining does not pop out when this dress is done. Also, I turned the neckline, and this is what the neckline looks like. Now I have repeated likewise for the two front pieces, and here is what it looks like. This is it. You would also need to iron so that your fabric can stay neat and flat. If it's now time to join both the front and the back together, what I will do is place right sides of the front against the right sides of the back, mark my side seam allowance, proceed to my sewing machine and join it together. I will also join it along the shoulder too, and I will be showing us what it looks like in a minute. Now this is me on the dress. I just wore it so that you guys can see what it looks like so far. This is how far it looks. Also, I am liking the outcome of the jacket so far, and I cannot wait to see the finished product. It is now time to join the fringe to this jacket. The first thing I did was to conceal the edges of the fringe, and I used a soldering iron. Another alternative to this is for you to just use your matches. I think using your matches might even be faster and easier. Anyone that works for you. If you have a soldering iron, you can try it out, or you can use your matches. Just make sure that the edges of your fringe is concealed. This will prevent it from fraying. Now, before proceeding to the sewing machine to sew, I decided to pin this at the hem of my dress, which was a really good thing to do. You want to make sure that your fringes are on one side. They shouldn't be lopsided, they shouldn't be tangled, because that would affect the outcome of your dress. That will affect how the fringe will come out. If it is tangled, then it will look tangled when you're done sewing. I am done attaching the fringe to the dress, and here is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. One more step and I'll be done with this dress, and that would be to attach the sleeve. For this, I am using a simple sleeve, a basic sleeve, which I've cut out and stitched along the sides. I have detailed tutorials on my YouTube channel on how to cut a basic sleeve pattern. So what I'll do is attach this to the armhole area of my dress, and you will see the outcome on me shortly. So guys, this is what my dress looks like. I love the simplicity of this outfit. You can wear it to quite a number of events, a formal event, an informal event. It checks. If you found this tutorial helpful, kindly give it a huge thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please click on the subscribe button below. It is one way of showing me your support and letting me know that I am doing an amazing job. So please click on the subscribe button. And until my next tutorial, stay blessed.